Fuse with Ken, an amazing experience. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another amazing episode of Fuse. You know, I believe that everyone has a unique story to share, a perspective that can shift our understanding of the world. Today, I'm excited to share a conversation with an amazing personality. Join me as we sit down together in this journey as we explore the highs and lows of her life and uncover the wisdom, insights, and lessons she's learned along the way. Today's guest is one of the most stunning faces in the fashion industry, with a career marked by elegance, poise, and dedication. I'm speaking about Louise Glover. Louise is an English glamour model and beauty pageant holder known for her appearances in British landmarks including FMH, Bazaar, Mazine, Loaded, and tabloids such as The News of the World, The Sun, and Daily Star. She is the first British model to be named Model of the Year and the Playboy Special Editions. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome talented and beautiful Louise Glover. How you doing, Louise?
I'm very well, thank you.
Has it been for you, the new year and everything?
It's I'm just looking at I'm looking ahead. I'm looking at the future at the moment. I'm trying to plan ahead at the moment. So
Amazing, amazing. So usually on Fuse, we try to bring people of great impact to share their success stories, the highs, the lows, behind the scenes stories to inspire and motivate younger people. So let's just dive into it. So I like to really start with my usual first questions on the show is walk us through those childhood memories that was definitive in the woman you are today.
Well, I think I never had a plan growing up until I was 9 years old, and I got spotted by a photographer, and I did a couple of pictures, and a week later, my mum at the time couldn't afford those photos. She was pregnant with my twin sisters, so we was moving towns. So he gave us one picture, and that one picture has been that photograph that has changed my life, I would say, because he turned around and said I look like a young Lorraine Chase, which is a beautiful actress from the UK, very, very well-known, elegant lady, and also that I'm photogenic, and that was at 9 years old. And I never understood all that at the time, so I looked more into it as I was growing up in my teenage years, and I realised, modelling is something I really want to do. And I went to the library, because back then there was no social media as such.
Okay.
And I was looking up the books on fashion, and I didn't know anything about I was going to go any taller or not at 14. I didn't realise I was going to get taller or stay the same height or what.
Okay.
But I think I was always about 5'3", and I'm now 5'4", but I didn't really get beyond the 5'4". So anyways, I sent off my photos to all these agencies in London when I was 14, and they said, we don't think you're going to grow any taller, and we're high fashion, which means you need to be 5'7", 5'8". And I was like, oh, okay, well, and then I kept trying over the years, and then I fell into the beauty pageants, and it went from there, really. It spiraled.
Okay. So now, growing up as a kid in the UK, in England, did you pursue any education? What was life for you growing up?
Life growing up was really, really difficult as a child. I did go into foster care system, moved around quite heavily. That was really tricky, trying to navigate and understand life as a youngster. But having a dream is something I held on to.
Amazing.
From 9 years old.
Amazing. So at 9, you already had a dream of pursuing something great in life.
Yeah. Modelling, travelling, wanting to see the world, wanting to, wear lovely clothes and do lovely, great things. And I just was so inspired by Cindy Crawford and these supermodels that were, in the 90s, and they were the best around, so they were my inspiration. Marilyn Monroe, I used to look up to her. I read her, it was the first book I ever read was Marilyn Monroe.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So now let's actually talk about, your modeling journey, which started, according to you, at 14, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you started the modeling career, what was the support from your family like?
Oh, so my mum and dad was around, and they were extremely supportive. My mum and dad wasn't very well, I should say, but when I was with them, they were so loving and caring and supportive, and they wanted me to do as well as I could. We just didn't have the funds available, so I could only do so much, But every time I had a competition, my mum or my dad had to be present, because under 18 years old, you have to have an adult. So they were very, very supportive. They came to London with me, Manchester with me.
Okay.
It was brilliant. And there was quite a lot of good words I always remember. And my dad said to me one time when I went to a competition in Manchester, for example, and I didn't get through, but I didn't tell him. So I went to London the week after. It's the same competition, but in London, the same level of competition. And I said to my dad, oh, I've got through to the next stages. Okay. So he came all the way to London. We borrowed the money off my nan and we went to London. And I didn't get through because it was the height thing.
All right.
But even so, I tried. And my dad said, and then I had to sort of say to my dad on the train, like, this wasn't really, I didn't really get through. And he went, don't worry about it. I know that you're determined. That was a big word I learned at the time.
Okay.
You're very determined, and that's what it takes to be successful.
So those words from your dad at the time was instrumental for your success.
Very much so.
Amazing.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So that as we look at your journey, all right, because you started modeling from a very young age, obviously, 14. And tell us, at 14, when you started, did you receive criticism, rejections, and how did you handle those times?
Well, modeling is all about rejection.
Oh.
It really, really is. So I've done a lot of modelling work over my time, but I've also been at a loss. So you go to, say, 12 castings to get one job. You might get one job out of the 12, but you have to keep going to different interviews and castings and getting seen in front of all the different companies and brands. Yeah, you have to keep going. You have to keep going until you get them jobs.
So if you're to talk about an experience where you are rejected or criticized and you were able to overcome that incident, which particular memory would you recall?
One in particular that has just come to mind was an agency sent me. It was already a failure before I went. So the agency sent me for a lingerie photo shoot. And it was for the labels, for Selfridges, for the labels of the lingerie in Selfridge. Anyways, I went to this job and I was booked for it by the way I looked and my statistics.
Okay.
And I've gone along and I didn't realise that I didn't fit into the lingerie. It wasn't stretchy. My sizes wasn't quite matching up to their sizes.
All right.
But that wasn't a fault on me. That was maybe something to do with the agency and the brand. And then they said, sorry, we're not going to be able to shoot you. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I had to just leave it and go home. I did get a little bit of a fee for the time, but I didn't get a fee for obviously the work. So there's some things like this, you go along and you think you've got the job and it doesn't quite work out, So then, that was the end of that.
Amazing. So you were able to, handle that criticism and rejection at the time, and you were able to, rise in the ladder in the modeling at the time. Now, let's look at, I call it the high point of your career. You happen to be the first British model to be named Model of the Year in Playboy Special Editions. Tell us about that achievement. How did you feel at the time? How did you manage the whole situation? How did you feel being that first model to win that, pageant at the time? Tell us.
Well, it's not so much a pageant. It's more of a modelling competition through the magazine. So it's a pictorial shoot.
All right.
But it was amazing because I wanted to be in Playboy since I think I was 19 years old, and doing glamour model like FHM Maxim, all the magazines, Bizarre. It was all good, but I wanted to achieve the biggest. So I aimed for the higher, the brand. So I managed to get a photo shoot with them. I had to get these done to get that opportunity, which I did. And then, because when I went originally, they wasn't supportive of me. They said, you need to get your implants done. So I did all that, and then I got the job, and then that was it. It went from there. And I didn't mean to win anything with Playboy. It just so happened to be that they fell in love with the look that I had at the time. Okay. And I think I always had an American look, and that's what they liked. I was British with an American look. You know? I think they like that.
Okay, so they achieved when you won the editions, Playboy Special Edition. I know, of course, it comes with a lot of fame. It comes with a lot of recognition. How did it impact your life? What happened to your career when you won that?
I was doing quite well with the modelling, with the magazine industry, from like I said, the FHM Maxims, and I was getting international success, which was really good as well. So I was getting into the international magazines. But winning with Playboy was like a whole new level. Like it was like the pinnacle of a glamour model's career. You couldn't get any bigger and better than something to do with Playboy.
All right.
And the fact that I won Model of the Year with Playboy was, phenomenal. Even the photographer said to me, no one outside of America has won this competition. You're the first and only British to have ever won it. And I still am. And I find that extraordinary because there's a lot of beautiful women out there, but it's just a matter of timing possibly, or placement, I don't know. And it just impacted my life in an amazing way. And every time I went to America, I was getting work left, right and centre. I was getting opportunities to go on TV. I did a TV documentary on BBC Three about Glamour girls. It was an 8-week-long documentary. It was fantastic. I got into a movie called Keith Lemon the Movie.
Okay.
With Kelly Brooks. So that was real fun. And I got to be a Greek goddess, which was lovely, with Kelly. And we did some great... I did so much work, music videos as well, yeah.
Amazing. When we talk about modeling and the glitz and glamour that comes with it, people want to know the discipline, in the industry. So walk us through the routines, behind the scenes practices, what it takes to actually become a model.
It's definitely important to look after yourself, definitely important to get your sleep, to have your water, to eat well. You have to take care of yourself in that respect. I think it's important to surround yourself with the right people, because if you're surrounded with the wrong people, it can have a detrimental effect on who you are and what you're doing and where you're going. So try and be around like-minded people, try and be around people who are doing well and successful.
Okay.
That's important.
Now, to the people watching this, we have lots of young people watching this across the world, in the UK and Canada and the US, in Africa, aspiring to be models and all of that. So what would you say to the aspiring, model on the challenges and experiences in the industry and how to overcome them,
Who's
obviously?
aspiring to be a model? So one of the things I get asked a lot from my friends who's got children is, how does my daughter get into modelling? So I've always said, the best way of getting into modelling, I would say, is to try the beauty pageants, to try the contests, because if you try those, it's where you start building your confidence. It's where you could get spotted on that time. You just don't know who's going to see you. It's a matter of putting yourself on the stage. It's a matter of go and enjoy it and see how you feel off the back of it. And if you enjoy competing and being on stage and being centre point and focus, then I'm sure you'll be fantastic as a model. But it takes time to build the confidence up. You don't just go to a photo shoot and have all the confidence in the world, because sometimes it's a little bit like acting in front of the camera as well. You've got to smile, be happy, and you may not naturally be happy that day. Something bad may have happened. But you've got to go in there, you've got to be happy, smiley, because you might be selling a product, or do you understand? I think it's important to gain confidence through competing first and then go from there. And you never know if you're going to win. But I'll tell you something.
All right.
Many shows I competed in, I didn't necessarily win. I might have come third, fourth, fifth. But guess what? Being in that place at the right time is where I got spotted to do other work.
Amazing. You said something very important. Most of the shows you went for, you didn't win, but you were there and you got other opportunities.
Exactly.
Now, that's the thing about life, and young people need to know this. When we start off a journey, we expect to always win. But life is not like that. Sometimes you fail your way to success. So if you're to talk to that young person, maybe that kid that's 13 years, 14, maybe 10, watching this show right now and needs some motivation to become a model, what would you say as regards determination, chasing those dreams without, trying to, fall for the challenges on the way?
I think if someone's determined, they're always going to have that within them. That's there. The dream is there. It's set. It's just about persevering and being consistent.
All right.
So you've just got to keep trying, keep going back. If they say no, if that agency says no, if that competition says no, you've got to keep going. You've got to find the next competition or the next agency. It might not be that you're, like for me, for example, I wasn't right for some of the agencies and I fitted better with the other agencies. So same with competing, I've also done fitness competitions. So I'm very well, when it comes to going on stage, I'm in my little bubble, and I absolutely love stepping on stage, because from my beauty pageant days in my teenage years to my fitness competitions in my early 30s, I just love getting on stage. I enjoy the process. And that's what I say, just enjoy every step of it, because it's a journey. You're not going to just get to the end of the race and be this big famous person and be on the magazine covers straight away. It's going to take time.
All right. So, as we talk about, the modeling industry and of course how, successful you were in the industry when you started. There's very particular thing that is very important for younger people. It's all about mistakes.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
what do you think are those mistakes? People that actually aspiring models should be aware of.
Um, there is lots of pitfalls in modelling. There's many. I think it's being aware of them quite quickly, early on.
Okay.
So I'd say there is agencies out there that will try and take your money. That is a definitely no-no. They'll say, oh, we charge for photos through our agency. Then you might get work with this agency, that agency, and this brand. It doesn't quite work like that. I think you have to get your own photos. Then you have to join an agency with your own photos. Some of the agencies offer that at a price, but some of them can take advantage at the same time. So just be wary of the scams that are out there because there's plenty of them.
All right.
Yeah.
Now let's look at something very important in your life. If you look at Louise Glover, you had highs and you had lows as well. Now let's look at downsides of fame. At some point, you were living in a mansion, doing good, and you had to live in a tent at some point in your life. Can you walk us through that, struggling time of your life? What really happened? How did you end up there?
Yeah. So over time, I've had some things that have set me back. I was ill at one point. When I removed the implants, I got really sick. I think it took me out of work for a good several months at least. And then I tried to get back to work, but I went in a different direction. So I changed direction. I went more commercial, which is where I wanted to go in the modelling anyway. I didn't mean to go into glamour. I kind of fell into glamour modelling other than the Playboy side
Over
of it.
the years,
Yeah,
okay.
I didn't mean to go into glamour. I meant to be a commercial model with the brands like you see on TV and commercials. But that was where I wanted to originally go. But I understood that I fitted into the glamour, so that's why I did that. But I also lost my parents, and that hit me massively mentally, and I couldn't even train at the gym. I couldn't even and I didn't lock myself away. What I did is because I lost my mum and dad back to back when I was 32.
Sorry about that.
It's okay, no worries. It's life. It is life. We've all got to deal with it at some point. But I just had to deal with it at 32.
Okay. When you lost your parents, all right, at that age, of course, battling a lot of things in life. Can you walk us through the process of grief? We lose someone we love or people we love, especially the parents, and we fall and most persons don't seem to get up. Exactly. You lost your parents, okay, and you still were able to be resilient, chase those dreams. Can you walk us through, coming out from grief?
I think this is one of my actual strong points is my resilience through life, because I've had so much go on in my life. And when I lost my parents, when I lost my dad at the beginning of January, I was like, what am I going to do now? I couldn't even lift weights. I couldn't go to the gym. And that would have been my way of dealing with my mental health. I go to the gym, not just for physical health, but for mental health as well. It's brilliant for all.
Right.
And I ended up basically signing up to climb Mount Everest in Nepal in the Himalayas. So I basically got on to this organisation, and it's raised money for charity for the British Lung Foundation because my dad died of COPD. So basically I focused my grief on something more positive and constructive that would raise awareness, raise money for charity, and also do something good for myself and get myself outdoors. Because I felt like part of my grief process was get outdoors, see the world. That was part of my grieving. And then when my mum died was when my mum had a heart attack randomly. And it was just before I was getting ready for Mount Everest, within the same time frame. The 6 months I was getting ready for Mount Everest within my dad dying, my mum died. So I took my mum's ashes with me to Mount Everest. And when I got to the base camp of Mount Everest is where I scattered my mum's ashes. And for me, that was my way of letting go. It was my way of dealing with my own grief in my own way. Everybody does it absolutely differently. But for me, this was my way. This was something that I had to do because I was only child to my mum and my dad So I have half siblings. But this was my way of dealing with it. And I put a locket of my hair, my dad's hair, my mum's hair, all in a little locket, and I left that there as well. So we're together. I don't know.
Okay.
But it's
Now,
my way. Yeah.
hearing this story, because I know what it means to lose a loved one. I lost my dad when I was 16.
Okay.
All right. So it was very traumatizing. Sometimes you don't even get back from it. And the fact that, when we lose our parents, we feel alone.
Yep.
All right. That's one of the very biggest scares. Now, but you felt alone and you were able to overcome that situation. You were able to heal from grief, and today you're here. You're also doing big things. You're trying to make an impact in the world. There's someone watching the show right now, and it's probably at that point where they're feeling like my life is over. I lost my parents. I lost maybe my husband, my wife, my father. What would you say to that person right now?
You got to keep going. You can't let the grief take over you. You know, grief is in different stages. It affects everybody so differently. But you have to persevere. You have to get up and you have to get out. You have to open the curtains. You have to make your bed. You have to get dressed. And you have to get out and go for your walks and go to the gym and see people and be not extremely social, but getting up and getting out and being connected to people is very important. Or else you're only going to feel more and more alone and disconnected. Because when you lose, I lost both parents. So the one thing I've always said, what it did to me was confuse me as well as disconnect me to my actual family.
Okay.
So I actually felt disconnected to my mum's side and my dad's side of the family. So I felt like I lost everything because they were the glue that molded me and kept me close to that family and that family. So I felt lost in so many more ways than I realised. But it was more to do with, it was a grief I had to deal with, and I dealt with it by traveling. I went 6 months backpacking around Central America. I meant to have gone for 2 years, but I needed to come back and start working. I couldn't just keep traveling, which I would have done if I could. But yeah, so that was a way of me healing myself. That was a way of me understanding myself. And I needed the time and space to think, because we're in such a busy world. Everything's crazy, everything's mad, everything's rush, 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 rat race, work, busy this, but busy that. Everyone's busy these days. You can't even get hold of them. So my life was crazy. Everyone's life is crazy. Okay. So coming away and going on volcanoes and mountains and hikes and seeing the real nature in Costa Rica and Nepal Mountain, the Himalayas, I got to breathe. I got to think. I got to reflect. And if you don't give yourself that time to if you just go and work after someone's passed away, I think it's going to hit you later on. But if you give yourself that time to go and think it through, understand why that's happened in life and what to do next without them, because your mum and dad are your two people that
foundation, basically your pillar.
Yeah, they're your, if I needed to ask a question of what do I do next in life, I'd ring my dad. He's the wisdom person, he's the one with all the wisdom. And my mum also. But my mum's more of the reassurance. Oh, you'll be fine, don't worry about it. You're good, you've got this, you've got your looks, you've got your modelling, you've got this, you've got a great personality and all the rest of it. And she'll and my mum and dad will drive me in ways that no one else can. I feel better now. I had a cry. I had a good talk to my mum and dad. Now I feel better. But I don't have that anymore, So I don't have people I can soundboard. I don't have people I can, just talk about any old thing to, and get it off my chest. So I deal with it through other ways, going to the gym, I train hard. And that's why I have a fitness business. I walk dogs because it helps me heal myself by being around the dogs, because there's so unconditional love. I don't think people's realised it, but that's one reason I started working with dogs.
Okay.
Because when I was backpacking as well, I was seeing so many street dogs and I wanted to help them all. So I started going to all the rescue centres and it gave me purpose whilst backpacking. And it gave me motivation to, when I got back to the UK, I want to set a dog business up and I want to work primarily with rescue dogs because they need the most help. And I resonate with them because I've been through tough times. I've been homeless. I've been without my mum and dad. I know what it's like to be in a place where you don't really know anyone by being in foster care and all these things. So I resonate with rescue dogs so much, and I don't think no one's picked up on it yet.
Listen to your story, Louise. It's a story that I'll tell you is full of resilience, dedication, passion, enthusiasm. And I think you should be a lot out more there to inspire people, especially, the younger generation. We live in a world where a lot of persons want to, they want to win now. And of course, when they go through life's challenges, they don't know how to get up. All right. I would say thank you for, being resilient, and thank you for always trying to, show up for yourself, because lots of persons watching this are inspired by your story, especially, being famous at a very young age, now losing your support system, getting back on your feet. Of course,
tricky.
I know it's a very hard part. And of course, living in affluence and you ended up homeless at some point or living in a tent, you were still able to manage the situation. That's remarkable, I would say, Louise. Thank you for that.
It's okay. And at the end of the day, sometimes I've got to do what the best thing for me is. And when I did get that tent and I couldn't afford to go and pay extreme, the rents were getting hiked up so much. Like every couple of months, the rent was going up and up and up in my area. And I looked in the surrounding areas and it wasn't much cheaper at all. So it was the summer. So when I did get the tent, it made absolute sense to me. And I'm one of those people that loves nature, as you've heard. So it didn't affect me going outside in my tent. I absolutely embraced it. I loved it. And it was the best thing I could have done for myself. I just was so gutted when the winter came because I couldn't do it anymore. And all the campsites closed. So, you never know. Might end up back in my tent soon when spring comes.
Okay. It seems you love nature.
I do.
And of course, people that love nature, they could understand, your perspective and your story. Now, of all your journey in life, what would you say is the most important life lesson you've learned?
Ooh. Now you're asking a good question. I think there's so many. I think when you're down on your luck, you realize who people are around you.
Okay.
And we all thrive as a community with other people. We thrive in that environment of people. And one thing I've realized is I can be in my own silence. I can be in my own presence and be good with that. I don't need all these people because sometimes it's too much noise. It's the wrong people. Okay. So it's important when you're down on your luck and people turn away from you, they don't want to help you, and these are your friends, then it doesn't matter. Because you've still got you and what you stand for, and just keep that. Keep striving and thriving for the best you can. And these people it's like sieving out the weeds. When you're going through a hard time, people might walk out your life, which is fine, because they're not the right people for you.
All right.
And I've realised that.
Okay.
I've realised that so many different times in my life. When I was Playboy Model of the Year, it felt like everyone around me wanted to know me. There was best friends with me.
Okay.
But realistically, when I look back on that time, they wanted to know me to get into the nightclubs and get into the VIP. They wanted the free drinks. They wanted to go here. They wanted to, do photo shoots with my photographers. They wanted to get in the magazines I was in. It was evident looking back on it what was going on, but you don't realise it at the time.
Okay. Now, let's just stay on that because, experiences actually, they say, are, life's best teachers. And in course of your experience in life, over 20 years, I'll say 20 years in the modeling industry, and you realize that when you win, people want to be close.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And when things are no longer smooth, then you know that people don't want to be there.
Yeah.
And especially for younger people, because I like to talk to younger people, of course, that's the reason for the show.
Yeah.
To that young person watching this right now, and probably in that phase when they're actually rising up, okay, have fame, have some, money, what do you think should be the mindset?
Stay strong. Stay focused on your own goals. Stay in your own lane. Don't worry what everyone else is thinking or doing, or if they're achieving more than you. It doesn't mean because they've got a nice car that they've bought it. They could have hired that watch, this coat, the jacket, the shoes, the trainers. You don't know how they've got them. They could even be fake. It doesn't matter. You stay in your own lane and you focus on your own self and your plan, and you'll achieve your own goals. Don't worry about anyone else. Just focus on yourself is the most important thing I can say to somebody.
Amazing. Thank you for that. And let's also look at, the modeling industry that you've actually spent most of your life doing. What do you think are the changes in the industry right now compared to when you started off?
Right now, or you mean over the last how many years? The changes, well, the magazine industry, when it came to a stop, all the magazines came off the shelf. Okay. And that's when the internet sort of taken over, and social medias like your Twitter, then it was Facebook, now it's Instagram and TikTok, and I don't even know what else is out there now other than that. You've got me there. But honestly, the social medias, this is a new world. You've got AI now. It's a different world. Even AI affects the personal training, because online you can get these little cartoon characters. doing all the
Okay.
workouts. And it's like, oh, you've just taken my job away, AI. Thank you. I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
So let's also look at the modeling industry, because I think when I look at you, I look at a person that has actually built a name for herself over the years in the industry, and you have a lot to give in terms of giving back to the society. So if you're talking to the young person right now looking to join this industry, what are those basic things you think they must know?
About the industry.
Yeah.
I think it's important to get a portfolio first, get your photos together, find the agencies that are most well respected and known, that get all the better jobs. If you can get with them, then fantastic. Again, competing, I think London, Dubai, South Africa. I'm not sure in Africa where the agencies are, but I know there is some in South Africa that are quite good. The fashion brands, so there's plenty of places to aim for. You don't have to go there, but you can email these people first, and it might be that you get an interview. You might be the right look. You just don't know. I've had people that I never thought would be models, and they're killing it. I mean, and they've got the look what is in demand. So you don't know if your look's going to be in demand or not. So it's what there's so many brands out there now.
What's the best advice you've ever received in your life?
In my
And
life.
that advice came from who?
Let me think. Probably my dad. What I said earlier about keep going, don't give up. Because my dad was I wouldn't say my backbone, but he was the person that I would go to with any tricky situation. If I didn't understand something, my dad just knew everything. It was like, okay, he knows everything about everything.
Okay.
But my dad always said to be true to myself. Don't get, caught up in all the hype. I don't do drugs. I actually don't drink now, but I did used to have a drink in my 20s. But I don't drink. I'm not interested. I go to the gym. I look after myself. And my dad's always said that to me. Look after yourself. Keep doing your modelling. And when I crossed over into the fitness industry, he was like, I love that you're happy and you're doing the fitness. It's the best thing you could have done for yourself. So I've crossed the fitness and glamour together. And look after myself is my dad said, that's the most important thing. Look after yourself. Look after your mind. Look after your body. And you'll go far, and
Amazing.
that's important.
Amazing. That's amazing. And what's the worst piece of advice you've actually heard in your life?
Oh, I don't know. Probably loads of people just saying, what are you doing that for? You're not going to get anywhere. Yeah, just jealous people, really. You're always going to get people who are jealous, who are, rude, obnoxious, and probably want to be where you are. And a lot of people think, oh, it's easy to get where you are because they only see the finished product. They don't see how you got there and how hard it was to get to that finished product, So people just think it's easy, and it's not. It's difficult. You have to face your personal challenges as well as your professional ones.
Okay. Now, talking about personal and professional needs, how do you strike that balance between your personal and work life?
So I'm a person who's I give. I like to give. So I'm a person I'm an empath. So my balance is to help the world. And this might sound crazy and cliche, but I've helped build 3 schools around the world. One in Peru, one in Malaysia, one in Belize. It was over a matter of months as well. It weren't just a matter of, I went to help with groups of volunteers.
Okay.
That was a big part of my personality and who I am. That's why when I go travelling, I work with the rescue dogs and the rescue centres to help promote them to get help for the dogs so they're not homeless, so they've got a home and get them rehomed. I'm doing the same in the UK. So it's about having balance. You've got to... This is the real me coming through right now in what I'm saying. Like, I like to help. And then with the fitness, I like to help people. So, you've got your professional life, which is the magazines and the glossy side of it. But you've got the real person over here trying to help and do good. So the balance is there, but it's trying to find a way of bringing it all together.
Oh, amazing, amazing. And okay, as we get to know you today more, I would like to ask one particular question. What's that thing that people might hear and they're like surprised? We didn't know this about Louise Glover. What's that thing?
I think like all the good I've done. Like I actually want to go to Africa next because I've done South America, I've done Central America, I've built a school over in Malaysia, and I want to come to Africa and I want to help build a school there. I want to help, I just want to help. And I know that that's probably the next on my list to go there. And I think that wasn't your question, but I was going off tangent.
because I really want to know. People watching the show, I
Actually
really
do.
will be actually intrigued by your resilience and how the journey has been for you. So because sometimes we look at someone that, despite all life threw at them, we're still able to overcome those challenges. So if I'm asking, if I'm to say, okay, Louise, what's that thing that, okay, people don't know about you, all right? But
Yeah.
people might want to know. They might get surprised when they hear that.
Okay. I think when I'm like, I say this all the time, I'm like an onion. I've got loads of layers, right? I've got layer after layer after layer. So you might find out this about me. That's the superficial part. But the real me is the person that cares, that wants to help. I've got my own project in the Maldives, in the coral reef. I've done marine biology. So I've got that qualification, but I don't know where to take it because I'm not at the highest level, but I'm at a level of, I understand it, I want to help. So when I was in the Maldives, I helped with the locals. During lockdown, I was out there. I got stuck in the Maldives in the lockdown, which was fantastic.
Okay. It was fantastic.
It was fantastic. I was on a local island though. It wasn't where the bikes are going down on the bridges and stuff. Me on swimming pool, nothing like that. I was staying with the actual locals in their homes. So I got like a homestay. So it was very affordable. But what I did was I went free diving every day with them when they was catching the fish, because this was a fisherman's island.
All right.
And where I was there for 5 weeks, what I got to do was build my own coral reef restoration. So I have a project over there that has been there for a good few years now, and it's making more marine life come over in abundance through the frames that we built and created. I designed it and we had a welder build them because it's all made out of metal. But it's all there in the ocean right now. And it's to educate people about marine life. It's to educate people about why we need to get the coral alive and kicking again and just going again, because it is dying. So that's a side of me that people don't know or see but it's like I touch all bases. I like mountain climbing, volcanoes, I like dogs, I like to work with the marine life, so there's all these, and then building the schools, which was community-based, working with groups of people, because when I did the school building, what it was after natural disasters.
Okay.
So I went over there in the relief process to help rebuild, but not just rebuild a school, it was to rebuild hope in that community.
So what actually was the mindset for you when you started off this particular part of you that most persons don't know? What made you feel like, okay, I want to go build schools for people in other parts of the world?
Okay, so I can't watch all the natural disasters on the news because it does something to me where I want to get up and I want to go and help. Now, I'm not a person that will send money to charities. I mean, I have done it with a rhino that died in Sudan. His name was Sudan. Sudan was his name? Yeah. Was that his name? The rhino, the white rhino in Africa, the last male white rhino. He was the only money I've spent on charity where I used to, and that was for so he didn't get poached.
Okay.
So that was in the last white male I can't remember, southern white rhino. He was on the front of National Geographic.
Okay.
He's well famous. But so that was the only time I've spent money on charity, whereas I like to go and actually get involved. I like to help. I like to see what's happening. I like to see what's going on. So I think a project I want to do is I want to go somewhere towards Tanzania and do something there, somewhere that way maybe, and then go from there onwards. Because once I've been to Africa, that's it. I'll be going through Africa, like different places, doing different projects, because there's so much to do.
Amazing.
The world needs my help.
I like something about you, your personality is the fact that you want to give back, you want to help people.
Yeah.
And that's good. That's so amazing. In today's world, everybody just want to take. We have a lot of takers. Nobody really wants to give, even when they say they're given, but at some point it's a form of disguise. But this is natural, this is pure, this is sincere, and I really appreciate that. And that's what we need in today's world. And now, as we also try to wrap up, and we're looking at, it's been an amazing time, of course, talking about your highs and your lows. I want you to, give us, your piece of advice conclusively, especially to younger women.
Okay.
What would be your piece of advice to younger women watching this right now, struggling and trying to find their path?
I'm a little bit lost myself, but I'll tell you anyway. No, I'm not lost. I know where I'm going. I know what I want to do. It's just sometimes, you need to change course. You need to change path a little bit. And I might be going off my own little path a little bit, which I think I know I am. But it's just staying strong and staying focused. Again, it's just, if you've got a dream, Do not let go of it, and don't let anybody discourage you, because I've had so many people say to me, don't do that, don't do this. Oh no, you're never going to make it in that. I used to get told I was never going to be a model when I was younger. My nan used to say that to me. My nan used to never let me go and do gymnastics, and I am amazing. I do aerial hoop training now in aerial hoops. I can do the splits and everything. So I love that style of movement, and it's almost like a performance, like an art, because it's almost like a dance. But when I was younger, I wanted to be a gymnast, and she wouldn't let me. She went, that's going to strengthen your growth. You can't do that. You'll never grow tall and all this. And I was like, what? So I never got to do gymnastics as a child. I never got to do anything as a child. I never got to do any sports. Only when I was at school, at lunchtimes, I got a little group together, and don't laugh.
It's okay.
I
Go
got
ahead.
these little ribbons from the hospital when my mum was pregnant. And they were the little ribbon for cancer, but I didn't know this. Breast cancer, little pink ribbons that turn upside down.
Okay.
That's the sign for breast cancer. And I got them, and because they were pink as well. I was like, if you're in my group, you can have one of these. That means you're in my group for doing and we was going on at lunchtime, we was doing cartwheels, handstands, splits, and we were all teaching each other on our lunchtime at school. And that was my little group. So I still got to do it, but in a different kind of way, my own little group. So I guess I've always been into fitness training people without realising it. But what I'm trying to get to is, don't let anyone discourage you for who you want to be, because this is you. You come into this world on your own, and you go out of this world on your own. It's as simple as that. And what you do in the meantime is what is the most vital and important thing for you in your life. It's about you. You've got to love yourself. If you've lost loved ones, you have to find a way of loving yourself and moving forward, because no one else is going to do it. No one else is going to come along and save you. And that's one thing I've learned.
Amazing.
Sorry,
I actually felt it, to be very honest.
No, it's true. No one's going to come and save you.
Because we live in a world where, some persons feel like, okay, my mom, my dad has to come get me.
Yeah.
My uncle, my brother has to come get me. My boss has to come get me. And eventually, no one is coming to get you.
No one's going to come get you.
You just have to be you.
You'll be sat there waiting for a while.
Right? So I think young people need to understand this. Love yourself. Take care of yourself. Chase those goals. Be resilient.
Be resilient.
Life
may make you resilient, but just try and create that. Try and create that resilience, strength, growth. Read books. Educate yourself is very vital. Education. Not from just school, that's one thing, but educate yourself. Not just in what job you're going into, but about life in general. Because I'm a person who's had to go through a lot of things to understand life. I've had to understand life through how I've gone through it. But if I can give advice for you not to go through some of the things I've gone through, but my things were just happened to be, part of my journey. But, being resilient, being strong, moving forward, keeping that focus and that drive to be successful, and you will.
I usually say this on the show. The reason for Fuse is, just to inspire younger people. And I like the fact that you like to build schools, you like to, affect lives, do humanitarian, activities, and that's remarkable. And that's the essence of the show, to touch lives, younger lives. Because as a younger person, I actually, went through life on a very tough path.
Yeah.
And at some point I made some mistakes, I corrected them. And the younger people need some sense of direction.
Well, I remember when I was 17 is when I went to Belize to build my first school. And
17?
I was before I got into the modelling or anything. And so I've always had that embedded, wanting to help communities and go and travel. And so what I was going to say is that was called a youth development program. So I understand the importance of what that did for me at 17 years old. It opened my eyes to the world. It showed me that there's a big bloody world out there. It's amazing. And Belize was an opportunity. I had to raise some funds for my kit that I had to wear, my rucksack, my boots, hiking boots. And we went into the Belize jungle. We helped build a school. We went to communities. It was incredible. And I was only 17. So even these opportunities where you can go and help, go around Africa, go to different countries if you can, and help with communities, whether it's teaching English to children and I've also done that when I was out there. I was teaching the children English. Only in Malaysia, but not so much the others, because in Belize they speak English. But what I'm saying is you put yourself out there, or else you're not, what, you're going to stay at home with the windows and the curtains closed and just stay in? No, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not even going to meet a man if you do that. I've got to keep saying that to myself. I've got to get out more.
Okay, now I didn't get that part of getting a man, of course.
No.
But But the thing is, let's talk about, just before we go, about
Yeah.
relationships. All right. I think it's very important. I think we almost skip that about relationships,
I love it. Forget it. Doesn't it? That's not important.
Okay.
That's one thing. Don't focus on the men. Focus on yourself. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't focus on the men, focus on yourself. Okay. So,
I'm saying that at 42 years old. I mean, come on. No.
Okay, amazing, amazing. So I want to say one thing just before we actually wrap it up, on the show today, because when I look at your story again, I look at someone that, despite what life has thrown towards them or towards her, she didn't give up.
No, I don't.
She
I
didn't give
can't,
up,
yeah.
and sitting here with you, I could actually understand what it means not to give up. All right, losing your parents, ending up homeless from the pinnacle of your career, and still getting to bounce back. That's really, really amazing. And I'll say thank you for coming on Fuse. And it was really an amazing time, trust me.
Thank you.
And trust me, I know that you watching this show today, you've actually learned one or two things from this show, and you actually put them in your life, and you actually, as you go from your day-to-day journey. That's it on today's episode of Fuse. Trust you had an amazing time. However, conclusively, I would love to say that the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. You have to know that success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button to see more interviews like this. Like, comment, and share, as your support is really appreciated. Thank you so much, and bye for now.